Trigger mixed feelings, so I'm finished. I'm on my way. Then you tell me you need it. Back in my space.
My oh my, what a night it has been. A turbulent one at that. We've just finished the LFO Akami matchup where Akami took it 2-1. The very last map, overtime. Oh God, my heart pounding, but I am glad to be rid of that. We've now established that Akami will be at the, well, they will be at the major. They're the third team joining both Wildcard and Pittsburgh Knights at the major. But that's who we've got, Raven. We've got Wildcard and we've got the Knights.
Yep, we do. This is the upper bracket final, and this is to determine who will be going through to the grand final first. So you also get the map advantage in the BO5. So, you know, that's a pretty big deal because a BO5, you know, if you don't have to win that extra map, you only got to win 2, makes it a whole lot more comfy. And then on top of that, why is that important? Well, this all starts to set seeding going into that major.
It really does. And a fair bit riding on this for Wildcard as well. I think, you know, we've alluded to this from this roster from the get-go is if they manage to secure the major playoff and then obviously win the major, that should realistically set them up and solidify them as the 6 invitational representatives. So it's quite a big matchup here in terms of the Knights and Wildcard. And I mean, this roster has just been, it has been up and down. There's no doubt about it. But you must admit, they've always come through in the big moments. They've had literally, I'm trying to think back now, 1, 2, 3 matches go over, 4 matches go overtime so far in the OCN. And they've only lost 1 of them. So I think that realistically, Wildcard in any encounter, you are going to favor. And I think their season kind of sets it up well. 6-1 run they had in the regular part.
They did, and look, it's always hard to write off Wildcard. We've talked about it a lot. They just consistently end up at the top of the table in OCN. No matter how many close matches they have, they are so good at closing them out, staying composed, and just in these high-pressure series when it comes to playoffs, majors, all that jazz. Yeah. They step it up constantly, time and time again. And it's just, it's tough to be up against a team like this.
Yes. The deep map pool, the incredible players they have. Geo has just been phenomenal, an absolute rock all season, and the addition of Vinny, you know, after Ethan was forced to depart, well, not forced, he just departed the roster. I think, you know, Vinny has replaced him in a way that would be very hard for a lot of different individuals, but this roster has stood strong and it has stood the test of time and roster changes, which is very important to know.
Yeah, it has. And look, they are just phenomenal as a team. As you said, highlight players. Geo, I think for most people, was probably the MVP of the regular season. He had just a solid season. I mean, I think a lot of people were looking to Vinny to be filling the shoes of Ethan, but I think what's more likely happened here is actually that Geo has kind of taken up the shoes of Ethan, and Vinny has just kind of slotted in as the second Geo. And just that combo of the addition to the team is insane. And sure, like this roster is very different to the team that actually went to 6 Invitational at the start of the year. I would hands down say this is a much stronger roster.
No, and I think that's fair enough to say, and time will just be a testament of that. But I'll tell you one roster that has stood the test of their own change, and that's Pittsburgh Knights. Sage coming in to replace Strider, and obviously in the season before, Stiggs departing the roster. I think Knights have done incredibly well to still, again, hold the test of time. They have really played what has been an incredible season. And I think that there is no doubt in my mind that if there's any team that's going to compete against Wildcard, it's going to be the Knights.
Yeah, I think it's not, I wouldn't say it's clear, but it definitely feels like Knights and Wildcard are really the Oceanic region 1 and 2 right now. Of course, we will find out by the end of tomorrow if that's the case. But Knights definitely have what it takes to be able to go up against Wildcard. Now, we haven't seen them in a series format go up against each other since the August Major. And I'll tell you what, the Knights really took it to Wildcard. They took a map off them on Oregon, and every other map was tight, man. Like there was a 7-5, 7-4, 7-4. Very, very close affair.
And I think that that's probably what I'm going to look for is the map veto and how it plays out, because I have a feeling that if we do see Oregon, I am definitely going to be favoring it for the Knights. But the biggest issue you're going to have with Wildcard is just how deep they can go on their map pool and how incredible they are as an overall team. But you know, it is hard to take away from what the Knights season has really looked like, which has been a dominant performance. You know, coming in at the 2nd seed, it was very well deserved. I think 5-2 they ended up. So it definitely goes to show that they are deserving to be in this upper bracket final. And in a best of 3, look, I think that it really could be quite close. And again, like I reiterated, the maps are going to play quite an impact on this, Raven. Do you have any thoughts as we head into these?
Look, I think a point can definitely be made that these two teams probably have the deeper map pools of the Oceanic teams. So this is a lot harder to predict. I would think the main thing is that the Knights are probably better at turning aggression up on their attacks in particular. So that would make me think that Wildcard will probably just get rid of Coastline. I don't think that's a map they'll want to play against the Knights. Other than that, it's just totally open floor.
Yep. Well, I mean, let's just bring them up. Let's just get through this. Let's burn through these vetoes because it's game time. It's going to be Club and Cafe. So 2 of the stock standard ANZ region maps gone. Villa and Consulate, with Coastline being the decider. Bar Villa, I'm really excited for those last 2 maps. Obviously, Villa's going to be an incredibly close one, but Consulate and Coastline, once again, just maps that we haven't really been seeing a hell of a lot of in the regular season.
Yeah, look, to talk about Villa, I mean, Wildcard have had some pretty shaky wins on it. I mean, like, they've been winning it, but they won 8-7 against Okami just yesterday. I'm looking back in towards, like, Six Masters Grand Final, for example. They beat Okami 8-7 on Villa. Also had a 7-5 against Okami on Villa. I mean, it's been close, definitely contestable. So I think that's a good pick from the Knights. They've shown that they can be pretty strong on Villa as well. Wildcard, Consulate, definitely a stronger for them. We talked about their smacking of Elevate on that already. I'm just incredibly surprised that Coastline got all the way through the decider.
Yeah, and the fact that it was between Oregon and Coastline and Oceanic was not chosen is a very... very interesting to me. But you know what, we'll move on from those and have a look at the predictions, which I'm sure are going to be Wildcard through and through. There you have it. And I think that it's always hard, man, because this definitely should be the result. Wildcard will most likely be the better team, but it can come down to on the form on the day, and Knights have shown that they really do deserve to be here.
Yeah, we said it before. It's hard to predict against Wildcard, but that is definitely by no means saying that the Knights cannot win this. I think this should be close. I am hoping for 3 mappers, I tell you what.
If we don't get to Coastline, I'm going to be very disappointed. But this is where we can start to tell our tale for the major. We have our 3 teams confirmed. Wildcard, Pittsburgh Knights, and Okami. 2 of the top teams in the region going at it right now to confirm themselves a position in the grand final of the Oceanic Nationals playoffs. And there is really a sense that Knights, they have a good look in here. They're probably the team, as we've said, that have the best chance against Wildcard. We do head to Villa to begin with. A map that really hasn't seen a lot from Knights. Actually, in fact, hasn't seen any from Knights throughout the Oceanic Nationals, but obviously Villa going 8-7 against Okami last night for Wildcard. So this is sure to be a telling sign for things to come.
I think so too. Ace has really been seeing a lot of bans this whole playoff series. Well, Mai as well is a great ban because those magnets on Villa in particular, we've talked heaps about it. You know, the top of main stairs there, always set up with a shield. And with those magnets in play all throughout the rounds, total pain to clear. So this does make Aviator Games attacks potentially a touch simpler.
Right. Let's get into it, shall we? A night of fun could turn sour here. Wildcard looking to continue their dominant streak in playoffs, or really just in any best of 3 or best of 5. They didn't lose they only lost one map of 11 between the 6 Masters playoffs, is what it was called back in stage 1, and the 6 August major. That is a damning stat in itself. And so far, they're holding true to their form, regardless of how close it may have come. Likely, we will see a similar kind of storyline being told. And once again, for Wildcard, we look to them to really cement their position at the top of ANZ. These are the matches that we expect them to show us what they're made of and show us really what we can expect in times to come. 31% to the Pittsburgh Knights. And considering Wildcard's pull in the ANZ region, I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah, look, and again, I don't think you can fault most people for voting for Wildcard. I mean, look at us, all for Wildcard. And that is by no means discounting the potential of Knights. There is a huge potential that the Knights could pull out an upset here. But it is just hard to predict against Wildcard because they are very consistent. They're such a strong team. When they are synergized, they are just scary.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very good way of putting it. Scary. And really sum that up. So, into the kitchen defense. Wildcard known for a pretty strong defensive side in all things considered, and rather a slow attacking side. See what Knights have to bring to disrupt what has been a good season thus far. Wildcard putting a fair bit of attention on that second floor with 2 members. Pat as well, just relaying all that information.
Yeah, very important info. Something that makes Wildcard very solid is they're very good with their intel gathering and how they act on that. As you can see, they've got 3 players pretty spread out there along that bottom floor, so still committing to the top floor to hold vertical presence. Emma in there in Astro, but the Knights, they are not wasting much time here. They are in through Closet and Master, starting to put pressure in towards these roamers. They want to get this vertical presence so that they can start to set up towards bomb site.
It's one of the first times I've seen the hard breaching device used. Love it. Haywood now, with the Astro window open, can look to contest Emo, Rin, and Co upstairs. They're going to have to make the money's worth, though. It's going to be a little bit harder than just aiming and tapping, that's for sure. Oh, Vinny, he'll look for the straight-up gunfight. Juicy will absolutely be loving that. Emo, Rin falls in quick succession. Nice. They're off running.
That was a fantastic entry and clear from the Knights there. I mean, it took them a bit of time to do, but the aggression, and even it looked almost like a refire from Juicy, just deleted Vinny in trophy. Beautifully done. And now they're giving themselves a minute with this vertical pressure. So it comes down to these anchor players for Wildcard. Need to fight back, try and stay patient. C4 misses the mark onto Juicy. Tags low, Diesel gets Josh. That's a part way to bring this back.
Diesel in sheets right now. A little bit isolated from both Pat and Geo. That's completely fine. He will be droned out. Just needs to be cautious here. Looking for that vertical line. He's being pinged out like crazy. And he won't look to continue to hold that line. The problem is there is still a castle barricade. Raven, 15 seconds left. The first round, it looks like it's in the Knights' favor here.
10 seconds to go.
Feels like it, but let's just see what Wildcard can do on this anchor. Diesel gets a pick. Does come down to Diesel and Pat Sage. He's going to try and stick the plant there. He's protected in the middle of dining. Going to try and retake now as it's confirmed, but Diesel and Pat both combine. All up to Sage here, Manic, in the post plant. He is full HP, but Diesel sees him, misses the shot.
Oh my goodness, he's giving so many chances back into this, but Diesel, he'll pull out the shotty at close range. I mean, this is Wildcard. What we know and love even when they're almost down and out for the count. A 3 versus 4, at one point, a 3 versus 5, they claw it back, and against all odds, they take round number 1.
Yeah, huge round for them to bring back. It looked lost, as you said. You'd basically written them off, and I still wasn't too sure. It felt like Diesel definitely had the right position, and the Knights, I think they lost track of them. That's all I could really put it down to. And it's a solid team retake there from these two players. Beautifully done, and yeah, Wildcard, they start off with a round win.
Well, that's just what we've come to expect from Diesel. He is a pretty nutty player on that SMG-11, that's for sure. And he's done some pretty mental things in the past, and it looks like history is just going to be repeating itself in this scenario. Now Wildcard will move away from that kitchen defense and head across to the Aviators and Games. And just to remind you, the game against Wildcard and Nakami, very close last night. Finished 8-7, so I would definitely be buckling in for a long series here.
Yeah, definitely showed that Wildcard have some gaps in their armor, so to speak, on Villa. I'd say that probably contributed quite heavily into the Knights deciding that this is where they wanted to go.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse
Really
it.
important the Knights do actually show up and take advantage of that. So we see Wildcard looking like they're going to potentially have some presence here over on the north side. Knights look like that's where they're going to push from as well. There's 2 to 3 players repelling up to Master. Just looking for that map presence and clear across. Be careful of the roam, but you know what? I don't think Wildcard particularly flank a whole lot these days. I feel like they're really about just solid roam presence and then just anchoring in the mid to late round.
Yep. Could most definitely agree with that statement. It's not it's not very Specker or Sogs-esque, is it? It's
No.
you don't get the crazy plays in that sense, but Knights doing an incredible job. 2 minutes and not wasting any time in just taking that north control of that top floor, though. Still need to be cautious of Vinny just roaming around downstairs for now. Likely will rejoin the rest of his team, or potentially just see what he can make of it.
Ooh, thought there was going to be a player entering in to the pottery studio, but not to be. Vinny, he might have a bit of a cheeky little presence down here, but he's been cut on the hallway by Josh. He's dipped in towards living. And this could just be a matter of time before one of these players engage. Half the round down, though. The Knights do have some pretty good control all the way from the north as they're starting to switch the focus to study as well. You do see Sage repelling up to study balcony. They got a lot of presence here around from 90. And that's Vinny from below with the C4. Hits the mark on the Dino. That's a big pick.
It is the opening one at that. With 1 minute left on the clock. A fair bit of utility used in that encounter. Now, oh, well, no, that is not going to be the case. I thought potentially there was going to be a line of sight into Vault regardless of how deep it was, but not this time. Haywood and Juicy approaching from landing now. They've got 2 to deal with around that Vault area, and there's a lot of attention being placed from Wildcard. They should be able to deny this for a while, Raven.
Yeah, but Juicy's just going to stick it through the gas. Doesn't quite get there. It's about 0.4 before it's confirmed. Banking on it was Knights, but it's just not to be. And look at that. The retake into study has just been so effective. Here comes the C4. That could end it. It does. Geo with the big double. Flawless for Wildcard. They're rolling forward. That's 2 in a row.
That's dangerous signs. You do not want to be giving Wildcard I would say, a fundamental round like that. The basics just being hit from Wildcard, the C4 from below from Vinny, the elusive run from Vinny, that is, that just continued to roam around and be an absolute nuisance, and then just typical Diesel being able to deny the plant for so long, the C4 to end it. That right there sums up a very good defensive round, regardless of how well Knights had really approached it. Diesel swaps out to the Clash, and once again, we saw the Clash work to a detrimental effect of the attacking side multiple times yesterday, so keep your eyes on the effects
Attackers need to
of
locate and
the
defuse
shieldy
bomb.
boy.
Yeah, man, Clash has been having some impacts lately, so
Yeah.
Knight's gonna have to be careful here. I do have at least one good counter to the Clash in Josh on the Zofia. It's more about how they use it. They use it to their advantage or not. Looks like we're seeing a solid roam downstairs for more vertical play again. It's something that's very characteristic of Wildcard's defense strats in general, is they really like to extend vertically for almost every site that they defend.
10 seconds left before insertion. 5 seconds to go.
Cracking into it, you do. The problem is you want to give Knights the credit that's due, because in both rounds here, it's not like they've kind of, just had a last minute ditch attempt. They've actually had a pretty good look in up until about that minute mark, In the first round, Knights were all but into a minute 30 with both of the players in that top floor roam done and dusted. And then it kind of just, Wildcard just do their Wildcard thing, and before you know it, it just crumbles in your hands. So I think there's some really good signs from Knights so far, but when Wildcards start out like
Bomb has
this,
been located.
you're always going to be concerned.
Yeah, and just speaking on the Knights' attacks, they are, as a general statement, they're pretty much like the opposite of Wildcard in the way that they attack. They are very quick early round and mid round, taking map control, putting pressure. Whereas Wildcard, you see them, they just take a very slow, methodical approach, and it just ends up in them rarely having enough time to have a solid execute down. And it's just funny that there's such contrasting teams in that regard. Yet Wildcard still managed to come out on top.
Wildcard. I feel like Wildcard have been pretty against the quote-unquote ANZ meta for quite some time in terms of their play style. Not many teams you see can replicate what Wildcard can really achieve. Vinny, unfortunately, with a wild C4 and landing, will not be able to capitalize on anything, and a secondary one as well. They have got the wall open. They can deny at least 3 of those pallets from blowing up, but unrelenting here are the Knights. A minute left. Starting to make at least some opportunities into sight.
Yeah, they got a crouch hole there now, though, so that's going to be entry. And you're getting further intel from below. He has been basically untouched. I don't think they've really droned or tried to push out Vinny. And look, it's at detriment. He is going to take out Sage. That's diffuser dropped. And right now, the Knights are just failing to capitalize on their early successful time management with 35 seconds. They're not particularly well set up right now. They're going to have to scramble to get diffuser. It's Juicy that gets it.
Attackers recovered
Diesel
the
is still ready to cause total havoc in Statue right now.
It's going to take something pretty special from Knights right now. Vinny's still got that vertical presence. Diesel's still up. Like you said, they're going to try to stick the plant a little bit deeper on site here. Dino's got the control. Vinny coming from behind. He will be able to find the kill. 2 players left for Knights in a post-plant situation. Geo making short work of Juicy here. Haywood, it's not even doable. Not even close to doable. At least he'll find a free kill here or there, but that's all it's going to be. Diesel will just slow it down for a bit of salt in the wounds, but Wildcard confirmed the round, and dominantly so.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that the Knights were able to confirm the plant down, but it fell apart very quickly as you saw that the retake from Wildcard very strong. And that's always a difficult one for post-plant, because you can sit in a corner and stick that. So even if the Knights had the window positions, for example, around side master, you can still defuse that or ninja defuse that from the corners of that doorway. So it was always going to be tough. And the fact that there was only one of them left made it pretty much impossible. But this is starting to be alarming, right? Wildcard 3 in a row. They're on quite the roll here on defense.
But they are. And
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
one thing that is always a point to talk about is just the ability on Wildcard's attack as well to just drain and drain and drain all of the utilities. So I do worry for Knights in this situation should they not be able to convert at least 2 of these rounds. It will most certainly end in tears. And it is hard to say because Knights have really done a fantastic job in terms of being able to at least take the fight to Wildcard. You know, we've had 2 post-plant situations. Second round, not so much, but it really must be quite tilting and frustrating when you do come up against a team like this. Once again, this Pulse has played such a huge impact for the Wildcard roster in their, what you would call, northern side sites.
Yeah, I feel like also the Knights, I mean, surely Hayward is spotting this out with the IQ scanner, and the Knights have just not really done a whole lot about the Pulse. I mean, in that last round, I highlighted Vinny. He was basically untouched, and he ended up getting the opening kill against Sage because they just left him to do what he wanted to do. So the Knights right now, while their time management has been good, I guess you would say their attacks have been a touch messy, leaving some stones unturned. On top of that, I did notice that 2 usually somewhat influential players for the Knights. Oh, here we go. Bit of an engagement with the Pulse. Sage and Dino are still both killless. They have not had an impact. And I think Dino in particular on these entry roles, you need him to be getting into the game.
Yeah. Talking about that win condition, Raven. Potentially that may be the undoing for Wildcard if they are able to start to get on that roll. Here comes the C4. Not going to find anything. Doesn't hit the mark. The nade. So gnarly. And Vinny's nearly taken out from that. Look at the pressure Knights are putting on to Wildcard, but boy, oh boy, do they stand strong in this situation. Knights still aren't done yet, though. My God, Josh. Filthy.
Oh my God, Josh belongs to the playground because he's all swings, Matic. Oh my God, that triple was nasty. Clearing out the positions of Wildcard. I mean, it's not like they went down without a fight, though. They did take 2 players. Dino, again, sacrificial in that. He's going to be 0 and 4 right now. But Pat and Diesel, up to them. Again, we saw this in round 1, Kitchen Dining. They clutched it out from this position. So this is well and truly not over.
That lady has not sung, that's for sure. And Pat, he's going on some sort of flank roam, whatever you want to call it. Looks like he is going to reassess and come back up pantry. He will get that information on the couch, though. You would have to imagine that. Oh, Diesel losing out in that fight. Josh is going absolutely mental right now. A 4K in this round, by the way.
15 seconds left.
Just casually. Feels like he's going to push for this ace right now. They've got the info. He flanks around China. He sees Pat. He locks it in. That's Josh with the ace. Huge round for the Knights. And he brings them their first round for the series.
Whew. Talking about turning up the heat. Josh, I mean, we do always look for an individual to step up in matches like this. And Josh may have just done that. He may have just given the lifeline that Knights need when they do head to that second half. Problem being, you can't rely on Josh to be doing that every single round, and so Knights need to back up what they've just achieved in that round, which, all things considered, was a good one at that.
It was. I mean, like, obviously it can't all be on the back of Josh either, so they do need to get some of these other players a bit more in the game. Hayward's been doing all right. I mean, he was one of their standout players for the season. As was Josh, honestly. I had Josh up there as one of their more consistent players as well, so good to see him stepping up again.
Yep.
Yeah, it needs to be, I think from the Knights right now, it just needs to feel like a more well-rounded effort. I mean, of course, there's a lot more to it than kills. I mean, Sage, you could say, oh, he's 0-3, but sure, he's on Habana. He's probably doing a lot of sitcoms, you know, that's what it's about. But at the same time, it just feels like without Josh popping up just then, for example, where else was it coming from? So I guess that highlights more players like Dino, who's still 0-4, and even Juicy. He got the opening kill of this entire map, and he hasn't had one since.
It's not the greatest of stories. We'll say that much. And obviously we do have to look for linchpins for Knights, and individual performances are never going to be your tried and true through and through, you know, fallback methods. So in this case, we do question for Knights right now what they're going to do. And look at this right now. Wildcard, mid-round, going to change their setup and fall away a little bit more so from that study heavy hold.
It's actually, I'm so surprised about this, right? So the Knights banned Wamai. And if you tell me where Wamai has the most impact on a Villa defense, I would have told you it's this one, at the top of the main stairs here. Just trying to flush that out when there's a Wamai and a Jaeger up. It's painful. But the Knights aren't even pushing it. They have, like, every time that Wildcard have held Aviator games, which is only twice. But regardless, they have constantly just pushed from the north side across. It still makes an impact for sure, but it's just surprising that given that ban, they are not taking advantage of potentially a simpler clear of top of main stairs and the study control.
No ADSs there as well, so that'll be the Banshee taken away for free. Both ADSs across in the game side of things, and obviously just in that study door to the top of main stairs. 90 now being taken control of Knights. They're doing a good job of spreading out right now and just ensuring that there's a little bit more pressure on the side of Wildcard. The flashes should be free. He's just realized, is he going to step right back into the same line? Dino.
Really wanted to get rid of that shield. Lucky that he didn't lose more HP, because sometimes you'd be surprised how quickly you can die from a drone hole. So lucky he is still alive. That's the beauty of this double shield strat too from Wildcard. Pat can actually sit behind the further shield. So even if they clear the first, he can still hold this long classical hall with shields. Really frustrating position for them to flush out. As you can see, Dino still hasn't really done so. Finally, they're pushing Pat out, and Josh is starting to get some vertical presence in towards top of main stairs. But Wildcard, they have all these positions still in their pocket, and with only 30 seconds, Hayward is somehow planting.
Oh no, I don't know whether they're going to be able to deny it in time. It's a 5v5 post-plant situation. Hayward gets away scot-free. Pat now picking up the first kill of the round in a post-plant situation, mind you. But look at the control from Study. Knights are going to have to hold from landing, all three of them, in fact, with one sitting back on 90. This doesn't look all that promising from Knights. They're going to have to hit their shots as they come into the site. Dino will hit the first, but it's traded out instantly by Emo now. Two players left on the side of the attackers, and Juicy is getting pinched from every angle. My God, Wildcard. What a retake from them.
That's 3 disable round wins for Wildcard. I mean, Knights are getting in and getting these plants down, but would you say they're overvaluing them? Because I feel like it's a yes. Almost every situation, they have never been able to set up good post plant. On top of that, I mean, Wildcard, they are doing great retakes. They've got the utility available as well. The fact that there was a gas canister still in the pocket for that retake facilitated greatly for, I didn't see which Wildcard player it was, but they just popped into the hard corner to be able to do that counter defuse, where it meant that one of the Knights players had to really hard pick that angle, and that's just not easy.
Yeah.
So I think Knights just have to probably, while they're getting themselves great map control and putting pressure on site, maybe they need to value working more picks before they go for that plant.
Most definitely. It does seem like most times they are trying to get that down, and then the post plan is what they're looking for. But in that case, specifically, you know, you look at what really was going right for Wildcard rather than wrong for Knights, and Wildcard had that study control almost instantly. I think there was one player from Knights trying to put pressure, and obviously got traded pretty quickly and swiftly. But the fact of the matter was, they just did not have that kind of pinch style pressure, which just allowed Wildcard to completely take control of that situation, force the players in landing to peak. And like you said, you know, when you're forcing one player to peak into 3 defensive players, you have to hit some really nutty shots. And I think Wildcard are just doing an incredible job on these post-plant situations of ensuring that all their I's are dotted. And, you know, Knights just continue to crumble under that pressure that they're forcing back onto them. You know, that was a 5v5 post-plant situation, mind you. So Wildcard are once again back in the position we saw previously. And are we going to see a C4 from Pat? It looks like he's going to hold on to it for now.
Yeah, and again, look, this is just the beauty of Knights. Like, they've droned out Master and Bathroom so quickly. They've entered. Dino is aggressive already in towards the closet. I mean, it's only a small amount of map control, but it just shows confidence and little hesitation. And it's definitely not this early part of the attacks that is biting the Knights. It comes down to those final moments where things are just not set up well enough. So, I mean, you could say maybe it's the mid-round that is messing with the Knights because they're not getting the right setup. So when it comes to late rounds, that's where it goes by the wayside. Sometimes it's hard though, because as we said, Wildcard, these retakes have been on point, and this info from the Pulse has just really been key here. That C4 misses the mark though.
Vinny now, he realizes those ADSs are all but null and void. Really nice swing onto Juicy, who was trying to make his way into Statuary to put a little bit more pressure on. Josh, they do have him pinned there. Do they know where Vinny is? You would have to imagine. It looked like Josh was unknown to the position, and Dino does trade it out. A 3 versus 3. Top floor control is obtained. What cost so far? Still yet to see.
He actually got Emorin on that as well. That was Dino. He got Emorin first, as Emorin was trying to peek to facilitate Vinny's peek, which is great play from Wildcard. But Dino hitting his shots beautifully. He started to get himself back into the game now. He's on 3 kills. I think that's really key for the Knights here, because it means some of the other players can potentially more focus on their roles. Not to say that was necessarily an issue already. So right now with this 3 versus 3, 45 seconds. Yeah, Knights have some vertical control. Look like they're going to start to work on the walls in towards dining, but Wildcard, they're sitting back. They have had retakes in much worse situations.
Very true. 25 seconds. It looks like Knights are favoring that post-plant situation once again. Diesel by Red Stairs now is going to come up the top. They're going to be able to deny it instantly. There is no trade from Knights. They're completely bamboozled as to what's happened. They've gone deep onto site to try and plant behind Tetris, but Geo, Pat, and Diesel are all in the right position to deny this. Dino, he has to go huge, and he can't get past Geo. It will be another wild card round. 5-1 finishes the first half on our map number 1, Villa.
Starting to see some questionable decisions here from Knights as well. Planting in the laundry doorway when they haven't taken control of Sheets, China, or Kitchen. How else was that going to go? Like, of course there was going to be an easy denial of plant. I just think they have not really thought through a lot of how they're setting up those attacks to go. And that's pretty evident given that they just went 1-5 in an attack half. Totally not to discredit Wildcard. They've been playing fantastically. Some of the retakes they're pulling off are great, but at the same time I feel like the Knights are just enabling this stuff to happen.
Yep. Well,
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
Juicy just
by
being a good pal. Of course, the Echo currently in quarantine, so that, for those of you who haven't been quite clear on that situation, Knights will rectify that instantly. And I think overall, this is what I was trying to reiterate at the very start of this match, is Wildcard's defense. It's so sound. It just looks really good. And I think the issue is always going to be around, you know, testing Wildcard because of how defensively they're happy to play and their setups are generally sound. And likewise, their attacks, they just burn through so much utility. Makes it incredibly dicey for that defensive side, but there's also a very sweet silver lining to that for any team, which is you can also catch them out, which we saw in that Ferox match, by just turtling and holding that utility for as long as possible. So definitely keep an eye on how Wildcard decide to approach this. But slow and methodical will generally be the direction.
Generally, their latest roster has started to enable more and more aggression when they want to. I think they're still just struggling to come to terms with when to make those decisions. To bring it back real quick to sum up the Knights and their attacks as well. Oh my god, speaking of aggression, Juicy just peeks out. This is the total not purpose of this defense, right? Is if you're smoke in the closet, you gotta sit tight. You need your teammates to cover you, and you want the your opponents to try and push you out. So now he's given closet for free. Bad call, I'd say, from Juicy there. What I was gonna say is another stat that really shows how not well set up the Knights' attacks were, is that Diesel died once. So he's probably the primary anchor player for Wildcard. It shows how little concern he had on site. He only died once. And I mean, he was instrumental in 2 or 3 of those retakes.
Yep. And when you obviously look at it, oh, no, Pat just crab walks away from it. Geo finding the kill on the Josh. I'll go back to my earlier point soon. Pat, I think somewhat lucky to be alive there. Vinny, however, not so lucky. I know with the C4 will put the pressure back on now. Imorin just needs to be a little bit cautious of that peek from Sage, which right now is going to have no effect. Oh, they're just denying the Astro window.
And they're very much aware of the position on the stairs. They can definitely keep him just trapped down at the bottom of Astro's stairs. But he's going to peek up anyway, get some pot shots off, but doesn't do enough damage. That nade will do some damage though. See you later, Sage. Gio's on a triple for the round on Wildcard's first attack. Hayward is getting out of there, and Diesel is planting. This is a great attack so far from Wildcard.
Geez, talk about timing there, Pat. Just coming off the line, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Knights are going to have to try to claw this back. And it's going to be a wide swing from Geo that nearly gives Dino a look in there, but Hayward in a 1 versus 3 now. No utility left to assist. C4 already used prior, and Knights, it looks like they're going to crumble on this first defense as well. Pretty much every player there in Astro completely blind. Hayward will at least find 1. He's still got 2 more to go, and if he sticks this, it will just put a little bit of pressure on the Wildcard trying to react. And Diesel, he'll clean it up. Still 3 seconds left on that defuse, so no need to stress thus. But Wildcard looking to close this out in as little as 8 rounds, Raven.
They have just been dominant. I mean, Geo single-handedly, I mean not single-handedly because he had teammates supporting him, but he got 3 kills on that entry that just looks monstrous. The start of that attack was great, but and I hate to harp on with mistakes here, but the Knights Juicy, I don't know what he was picking out to, whether he felt like he heard sound or something like that. But giving up that closet position so early defeats the whole purpose of that strategy. Like, if you're dedicating so much in that holding closet, you damn well do not peek those windows. Like, I just think that was such a big mistake there. And Wildcard, they will punish you almost 100% of the time when you make those kinds of mistakes.
Yeah, you have to be either really lucky or really, really sharp to get away with that situation. So, and unfortunately, it is near impossible to do either of those when you're trying to peek a window that's already being watched by a sledge with an ACOG just staring at that juicy watermelon as you turn around the corner. So it is looking like it could be done and dusted in as little as 8 rounds, which would be pretty mental considering 1, this is Knight's map pick, but 2, what has been this night so far. And we could be in the midst of a very quick series.
Potentially are. Maybe it's just taking the Knights a little bit to warm up again because they played earlier and they had a break. Now they're playing again. Diesel, I tell you what, he is having a great game. That's a good night to Dino in the first 13 seconds. I'm not sure. That was a run out. Dino, maybe he's just throwing caution to the wind saying, you know what, I'm trying to get in the game, boys. Let me at him. But it's not worked out. Diesel, I mean, right now I think he's 9-1 or 10-1 or something. Absolutely unreal. I think might be seeing, Wildcard go for a 7-1 on this first map, which is the Knights pick at that.
Oofed. That's all I've got to say is oofed. Diesel, as you said, 9-4-1. The impact is pretty evident. Once again, Wildcard, they will definitely be droning. They will definitely be doing their due diligence and ensuring that everything is clear before they make their way in here. 4 players coming from that northern side. Vinny can't win out in that fight against Josh. Not the player you want to be losing to in that engagement, but was that a pre-fire, Pat? Come on, man. That's nasty.
Yeah, seeing a lot of Yana picks as well. So here comes the info gathering with the Gemini. Sees the hard corner. He is in a total crossfire right now.
What?
Beautifully set up by Wildcard. Imarin on the long angle over on the little roof of the structure there on the west side. Love it. Absolute great pinch of 90. And now Wildcard have set themselves up in a great spot with just over a minute to play.
And Gio will just use one of those nades to get rid of... Oh, hello, Sage. Crisp shot. Well, maybe a second. No, it's not to follow up. Lightning will not strike twice on landing as Juicy, he gets aggressive. He tries to find something. That will be the signal for Ayana just to yeet on into the site there. It should... Actually, it may not be denied here. No, Pat will be caught on the outside. Juicy, this is a round that you could definitely win. Still one smoke babe left.
Yeah, definitely winnable. Imarin, he's trying to get in so he can better cover his teammate for the plant because Diffuser is stuck there now. It's not like they can just decide to reapproach this. Live pings onto Imarin's position. He's not too fussed about it. He's going to make sure he uses his drone so they can figure out where the hell is Juicy. And now it's 25 seconds to Diffuser recovered. Manic. Wildcard need to get this plant down or get the pick onto Juicy.
Readjusts where he was sitting, but this is going to be pretty hard. Imarin can just hold the line here, and this will have to come down to Juicy making the play. Imarin swings, and Gio, he'll get taken out as well. Juicy, what a play. That will definitely give you a round back into it, but a wild misstep from Wildcard's perspective.
I think that was a 1v4 in the end. I didn't quite catch where that really started for Juicy. But wow, he played that fantastically. And Wildcard, maybe they just got a little bit giddy to try and get the plant down. Once Juicy got some shots out at around 90, I believe it was, that was when they rushed in for that plant, but wasn't well enough covered, I'd say. And look, yeah, Juicy capitalized. Fantastic clutch from him.
Emo obviously just cautious of him pushing behind the couch, potentially getting a line onto Gio, who was planting, but nevertheless, we go another round here. We will be sitting down in kitchen, and likely we will see a bit of presence from the Knights on that top floor. Wildcard were happy just to leave the pulse, and realistically, Diesel would just kind of sitting around on the red stairs, so we'll see if they do anything similar here. Potentially vice versa.
See what Knights can muster up here. Kitchen dining. Of course, it's do or die for them right now on this map. They need to get 4 more rounds in perfect succession. Otherwise, GG on this one. We're moving to map 2 straight away, which of course is not what the Knights want at all for obvious reasons. Also on the point that this is their map pick, right? So they saw something in Villa, and that's why they've chosen to go here.
I mean, I might spitball here and just say potentially it's on that close match from the Akami Wildcard game last night that ended up 8-7 on Villa. So just like to spitball sometimes. There are a couple of different ideas out there. Regardless, though, no matter whether you're playing into your hand or into your opponent's hand, you have to convert these rounds, and that they have not been able to. Just a reminder, the 2 rounds that Knights have won, Josh aced, and then Juicy went mental on a 1v3 clutch. So if that doesn't sum up how they've been able to get their rounds, I don't know what does.
That's a great point. Wildcard doing pretty well getting this vertical control right now. It's actually not something that the Knights are hard contesting, which is, I guess, the contrast to how Wildcard were holding it. Maybe they're going to bank on some C4 kills. Juicy on that pulse. Whilst we've seen it played very much on Villa, having quite the impact on top of that. Pat is the hard counter, and he is right there. So there is a chance that Pat could end Juicy right now.
Pat's just trying to live through the landmines that are those C4s coming up. He's trying to find sanctuary in the bathtub and the shower, chasing after him. Pat is hungry like the wolf. He's baited the C4 out, and he's too scared to go over and shoot it. He might just have to get Geo to come across. They're just going to nade it for good caution here. And now he'll take some pot shots, but so far a bit of a stalemate for the Knights.
Oof. And Nade coming through the rafters too, getting a little bit close for comfort to Juicy, but he still survives nonetheless. This is looking closer and closer, like it might almost be a 5v5 execute here. Wildcard have just not been able to find any openings through these verticals. Knights staying in just the right positions. Josh with a great tight angle here from the hallway. Looks a little concerned to stick it, but he is. And Wildcard just have to get their skates on, Manic. It's down to the last 20 seconds, and Diesel, he's in. He's planting behind kitchen bench.
Sage can't even get into a position to deny this either. Will he be able to? Just in the nick of time. In fact, the bomb, rather the diffuser, is well and truly planted, and this will really tell the tale. We saw many post-plan situations for Knights, but they were not able to convert them. Wildcard now, they have to be able to deny this. It's Pat to deny the first, but Josh is sticking it. They've got to spray and pray through the smoke, and Knights will just pull it out on the back of a smoke covering their angle. What on earth has gone on? It will eventually, the meat shield is unbelievable. Josh, fortunate to be alive in that situation.
That's 2 rounds in a row that I felt like Wildcard just had that in the book, but Knights have been able to get it back. Unbelievable. They're starting to really reduce this deficit. It's 3 rounds now. Of course, we said they have to be perfect because Wildcard is on match point. And now they're going to go to Trophy and Statue.
I'd love to say there's a small bit of belief that's building in my heart. If you confirm this round, yes. It's on like Donkey Kong. There's still a long way to go with 3 rounds left and how close these rounds have even been for Wildcard. That time it took a meat shield to protect Josh on the diffuser. The round prior, Juicy pulled out a 1v3 clutch. And Wildcard, all but these last 2 rounds, had looked just utterly dominant. And even so, they still are looking dominant. I will obviously make that fully well known. Just not so much as what we were expecting. Potential to have closed it out at 7-1 now. Knights still are prevailing. This is, after all, their map picks, so you would hope that they will be able to pull something out.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds to insertion.
All right, let's see whether the Knights can continue to run.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Still haven't had, like an individual player really stand up. I mean, Juicy had that clutch, yeah. Josh had some pretty good attack rounds, but on these defenses, it's not like there's just one person derailing Wildcard. It's just they're managing to sneak through with these occasions. Like, I still can't believe that counter defuse went off, but it worked.
Yeah.
So,
question mark?
and look, now, I really clicked here. Now that we are repeating this bomb site, has Juicy learned his mistake from before? Let's see whether he just keeps tucked in this corner right now.
Changing mags!
Well, one thing's for sure, they'll burn through those ADSs real quick. Wildcard are not afraid of doing so. My God. Hello. That's a really nice line from Dino to tag up Pat. He's fortunate to be alive.
So tight angle there, and this is much better from Juicy. Instead of opting for the peak, he's going to just smoke it out and delay this push in as much as possible. Geo with a well-placed nade and well cooked though. Gets him out of there, but this is almost a whole minute later than it was previously. So it is going to slow down in general, the progress that Wild can make. And there's still some great angles held in towards the closet here from Josh and from the Knights in general that can continue to slow them down.
Bomb located by attackers.
Just reiterating what we generally see from Wildcard. They were more than happy to invest all that utility to try and burn through those 3 ADSs in closet. Oh, Dino. This could be it. Vinny maybe on the receiving end of this C4. All it's going to take is the call with Geo taking down Haywood. It's going to take something big from Knights here. What's the timing on this? There's 2 players grouped up. Oh, this could be everything. Dino takes too long on the C4. I'm still holding on to hope he's going to throw it up. He's leaving me on the edge of my seat. Dino, don't leave me hanging. Please just throw it. Oh my God.
Nah, he's out of there. And look, in the midst of all that, Wildcard have just taken up positions here in Astro. Very, very deep right now. C4 goes up finally, does tag Geo, but doesn't get the kill. And Snaky Boy right next to Emo Rin doesn't net the kill either. 4 versus 2, up to Sage and Dino on this retake. As Diesel goes to stick the plant. Vince here with a nice shot onto Sage. It's all on Dino here. The man of patience, he's got Fortify and Manic.
Oh, he gets a nice line on the Pat. I believe that was the debris from the barricade previously left. 30 seconds. Dino, he's got 1 player low in Emo Rin, but it just doesn't seem doable after that. He will try to find these lines as he crawls his way on site. Won't see the player who's already croned. Oh, yep, nice. That's a good way of starting Emo. Dino proceeds over 1 more hurdle, but with that time ticking down, he's got all but a second to play with. Vinny will close it out. Map number 1 goes the side of Wildcard. Villa is the pit of Pittsburgh Knights. Signs not the greatest as we head to map number 2 here, Raven.
That we do, and look, it just didn't look good for the Knights. It was a bit of a delay of the inevitable to talk about the Knights there. It really should have been 7-1 to Wildcard, to be quite honest with you. That was when Juicy got his huge clutch, and then there was that wacky post-plant counter defuse in the smoke that we got the other rounds. Somehow they got 2 back, but they just never looked like they had enough in them to really mount a comeback. Wildcard, incredible on Villages then.
Yeah, it does not tell the tale when you see 7-3 because just to piggyback that statement, Raven, an ace from Josh, a 1v3 clutch from Juicy, and Josh defusing in a 4v4 post-plant situation. Literally the only thing that stood between him and the round was a meat shield. So not the most promising of signs from Knights, but Wildcard, that is definitely the dominant form that we have come to expect from them. And I think that right there is a huge statement for them to make straight out of the gates.
Massive, because I mean we hyped this up like this was going to be their greatest contest moving forward, and yeah, it's a best of 3. You know, it's not done, it's not over, but the Knights are going to pull more out than that because they looked not very good on their map pick. You know, I think that's the bigger story there. Is this was their map pick? Like, what were they trying to bring out? It was either a total lack of execution, or they really underestimated how Wildcard can play on Villa.
And you do not want to underestimate Wildcard in any way, shape, or form, because that's what happens. A 7-3 on your map pick. We head to Consulate next, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back after a short break with Wildcard and Pittsburgh.
Defenders have eyes on the diffuser. Attackers need to protect them. Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
hold. I'm gonna paint a new reality. It doesn't take a lot to turn a person into gold. Yeah, I've been getting good at alchemy. And you can stay inside in the deep, but without it, you never let go. And when you're done with hiding and you wanna have control, you and I can find a perfect fantasy. Stepped out looking like a small fire, half glass that are filled with desire. Head down, but no, I can't deny it. Life is fun when you're a liar.
I don't want your empathy, I just want another enemy. I'm not gonna change a thing for you. I'm over middle ground, and I really wanna burn it down. I'm not your friend, and I won't pretend I am. So don't reach out, and I mean that. I'm under siege, and I need you to see that. You're on one side, I'm on another, and we will wage war upon each other. I'm no angel, you're not either. I'm at a fever pitch, you're at a leisurely pace. I'm unscathed, I'm unafraid. A war, welcome to the war game.
Welcome to the war game.
This has the potential to be one of the quickest series we've seen so far in this playoffs. It's Wildcard taking Villa 7-3. That was the Pittsburgh's pick. We now move to Consulate, and the only context we have from that, rather from the season, is a 7-2 walloping that Wildcard gave Elevate. So that is the context we've got going into this match. Elevate and Pittsburgh, obviously two completely different teams, but this really does have the potential to be done quickly, Braden.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a scary situation for the Knights. There's a lot of pressure on them right now to be able to, or to have to turn this series around. On Wildcard's pick of Consulate, that map from the regular season, it stands out to me. That was probably the map they looked their best. And I mean, it's obvious, right? They got a 7-2 victory against Elevate. And Elevate definitely made a lot of mistakes that night. But just the way Wildcard played was quite terrifying, to be honest. Their form was it was near perfect. And I think that is a scary thing right now, because if they pull it out, they can replicate it against the Knights. I wouldn't give them much of a chance being able to turn it around, especially after how Villa was played out.
No, exactly, because just to reiterate for anyone who's joined right now or joined in the break, that was dominant. Wildcard 7-3, and the way they did it should have been a 7-1. That's the scary part. However, it is a new map, it's a new dawn, it's a new day for Pittsburgh Knights. They are going to have to dust themselves off and get back on that saddle, because we are headed to Consulate, and it is do or die for them. If they do lose, they will be falling down to that lower bracket. And obviously, the winner of this heads straight through to the grand final, which will be played tomorrow night with a default map in a best of 5. So still some pretty serious consequences for that. And just a reminder, that matchup will determine who is seeded directly through to the grand final come the major for the Oceanic region. So with that context out of the way, Knights, they definitely need to pack up and really show up on this map.
That they do. Talking about seeding for the Oceanic Major as well, which is probably a more forward-thinking thing, right? But with the grand final, like not only are you fighting for the most prize, well, the biggest prize pool for Oceanic Nationals in the grand final, if you get first seed for the major, you're straight into the grand final for the major. Second and third play off for it, but it's a pretty big deal. So Wildcard, right now, they are storming towards that. Getting into the grand final in such dominant form is going to put them in just such a great position. So yeah, the Knights, they're going to pull some big stops out right now.
That they do, and the Pulse could be one that really disrupts a lot of what that defensive side can do. Wildcard obviously being the banner, if you will, of the Pulse. Now, one thing that was, I think, interesting for us to make mention of in the previous Consulate match between Akami and LFO was the lack of that second floor site. We didn't see CEO meeting attempted even once in 15 rounds. So potentially that is something you'll want to keep your eyes on in this one as well, as it is Wildcard starting out on their defensive side, which already spells trouble for the Knights.
It does. I got so excited with this Amaro pick, man. I'm so sad that Hayward is just sticking off it. Just thought, you know, like the little cheeky pick to change it up somehow would be cool. Wildcard being on Garage, maybe it wouldn't have had as massive of an impact. But the other thing is the fact they showed it does mean Wildcard should probably keep it in mind, because you do see some Amaro strats executed on Consulate, in particular for top floor attacks. You know, the cheeky yeet up through the hatch into CO sometimes is a valid thing to do. So yeah, just to keep your opponent thinking about it is never a bad thing.
Of course, if we head there. Which is a very interesting point to note, considering we've used to see it quite often. And with only 5 seconds left in this prep phase, you do wonder what it will mean for the Knights here.
Attackers must locate and defuse.
Wildcard already showing this map in their season and having a stellar performance. Something to just keep in mind. Now, down to the basement, meaning Wildcard happy to roam upstairs, 2 floors above the actual site itself, with Vinny and Imorin, just to begin with anyway.
Some pretty good synergy on their own, as you saw up in Villa as well. A lot of vertical roam coming out of those two guys. So they're going to repel, but on top of that, they are coming up against the Knights, who do not waste time in this early map control. They are always so quick with it. And it's not like they're particularly reckless. You don't see it blow up in their face particularly often. I think that's the real scary thing about their attacks. But it's more so about the mid rounds that we really see the Knights tighten it up.
Wildcard have fallen back to piano. They just need to be careful. Currently being careful. Oh God, Vinny, that is absolutely filthy. Oh, Hayward. Unfortunate, to say the very least. And this setup in bathroom with Pat is going to cause Knights so many issues. It is now a minute 20 off the clock, and they still don't have that first floor control. Josh starting to lengthen his grip out a little bit further into lobby. They need a lot more than that to get in here, though.
They are. They really are. And it's already a tough situation for them to be in right now, losing Hayward. He's been such a solid player for the Knights all season, and also quite a good instigator. These Mute Jammers are going to cause a lot of havoc as well. Of course, with the Thatcher ban, does make it a little bit complicated to clear these kinds of Mute Jammers. Sage and Dino, though, they've got piano control. They're going to go to work trying to get some verticals. If they're able to work a pick or two through here, they're going to be much better set up. But they've got to be careful of these C4s, because you know Wildcard are going to be ready to pounce. And speaking of ready to pounce, Pat looks like he is itching to get out of this doorway.
He is literally like a dog on a leash right now, pulling and tugging to let them Let him free. Oh, Dino playing with fire right now. Pat on the close angle. This could be devastating for Knights. 30 seconds left. Meanwhile, that is not great timing for Knights as they start to try and put a little bit more pressure on site. Sorry. Dino's still stuck here as well. 20 seconds left, Raven. It's really coming down to it.
It is, and oh my god, these guys are toying with each other so much in the public bathroom, but no time at all. Knights just need to get down there, and they have yet to be able to break through. Juicy is trying to find a place to plant. He's trying so in smoke, just getting absolutely melted. Pat finally gets his chance to push out, all up to Juicy on basically 1 HP. He's just going to say, I'm not trying, boys. I'm going to sit out here and chill. Wildcard take the first round of Consulate.
This is not the greatest of signs to begin with here for the Knights. That was a 4-1 finish to that round. In particular, you do have to give props to Vinny with the opening kill, Pat for holding on for so damn long. In fact, staying alive the entire time really felt like it threw off what Dino was trying to achieve there on that Nomad. Had he had found that kill, he would have had access down that hatch. It's not to be, and we will press on to the lobby defense now. The Hibana swap for that ace. And meanwhile, no changes in the camp of Wildcard here. We saw this hold from them on the Elevate matchup. I think it looks a little bit different to what we saw previously. Diesel was upstairs holding those long lines into lobby from behind the meeting table, so we'll see whether it's anything similar.
Well,
Attackers have discovered the location
again,
of a bomb.
top floor being completely avoided. It really has just fallen out of meta. Is just people don't like playing top floor anymore for whatever reason.
10 seconds
It does generally just come down to two styles of pushing top floor, right? It's either you push CO up through yellow stairs and through windows, or you kind of take the admin control and push into a meeting.
Use a bomb.
So maybe just trying to not keep it so simple on the defensive. And I think that's a good thing because the Knights have just struggled on attack all night so far. I mean, we saw one round of this and all of Villa, but they really struggled attacking in Villa, and just then they looked like they were struggling as well. So I think the fact that Wildcard have got defense to start this map is another strike against the Knights' name right now.
Yeah. You see so much vertical presence from Wildcard here, and if you watch that Elevate matchup, you can see just how difficult it is to try and deal with Wildcard and the way they hold. Diesel has had some incredibly memorable moments over the past couple of years, particularly on the smoke in this exact position, obviously on a different site, but regardless. Oh! Diesel, I just wanted to see one tiny shot. That's all I cared. Oh. Had that have made it through that tiny hole, that would have been see you later, Hayward, for a second round in a row.
Yeah, he's didn't have a good start to the last round, that's for sure. Diesel hearing the rappel, ready for that little head to peek out over the top of the window. Just not getting what he wants. Flash is going to disrupt it. Clears the table as well, so this is the time where it gets real sketchy for Diesel. Not going to work out for him. It's always tough once that table is cleared. Hayward comes out bested in that instance, or on top. Nimarin still hanging out in connector though, as the Knights continue to gather their vertical control.
Certainly makes things a little bit more interesting there. Vinny does have that long line from Circle Death directly into Hayward's position. He needs to be very cautious making his way up there. Vinny has obviously been spotted. Free kill. Hello? Okay, poor Dino. He'll be none the wiser.
Apparently not. So Vinny still here to wreak havoc in tellers, and Emorin is still hanging out in connector in just under a minute. Although the Knights cleared out Diesel, they have not taken advantage of this meeting control. So without that vertical presence, is going to be tough to plant in lobby. You might have to go towards piano. Emorin, there he is. He's going to end up taking out Hayward. So I dare say the Knights no longer have any vertical presence. Emorin just got tagged up in some gunfights. He's taking out Sage as Josh gets Vinny. 30 seconds to go. It's up to Josh and Juicy.
In from Circle Desk, just needs to be aware of that player behind the desk. In fact, Juicy and Josh might be able to pinch here. Pat finds the kill, Emo recovers. And that, again, another great round for a Wildcard on their defensive side. 3 left alive. And with that vertical control, it was gnarly. That was not going to end well for Knights.
I'd definitely be curious to hear. I'm sure we're going to speak to Dino after the game. And I mean, I'm not trying to write the Knights off too early, but I would love to hear struggles they've been having with these attacks on both these maps right now, because it's strange. They're just doing so well in entry and their time management is great. But then, like, even once they got that meeting control, they seemed so hesitant to try and clear out Imorin. And I mean, surely they were aware of his presence in Connector, but they didn't seem to do a whole lot to deal with him. So even though they put so much into clearing Diesel, without dealing with Imorin, there was nothing they could have done with meeting. And look, Imorin ended up getting a 2K up there in that final 30 seconds or so.
Certainly something to keep in mind when we're having a good old chat with Dino afterwards. Again, feeling like it could be relatively soon that we're speaking to them with the way Wildcard are going. Really trying not to take too much away from the Knights here, but sometimes it can be hard to tell these kind of stories with the performance that is
10 seconds left.
this defensive side of Wildcard. So far in the first round, 4 players left alive. In the second round, 3 players left alive. So
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
it has been fairly convincing in that, and that's 3 pre-placed drones on Haywood, Juicy, and Josh taken out before that prep phase ends. Wildcard ensuring that intel is few and far between.
That's a great point. It's not something I've really kept a massive eye on, but potentially even just that early round intel gathering has been shut down by Wildcard, so they've been having to throw their pocket drones to get their early map control, but then they don't have much left after that. Maybe that has been an issue. There's always a good thing to keep an eye on, and keeping an eye on Josh. He's been downed. Vinny been down, trying to confirm that as well. It looks like they are going to be able to pick him back up, but Dino jumps straight to his death, maybe getting a little aggressive to try and confirm the pick on the Vinny. Geo gets one. Oh my god, what is happening here, Manic?
I actually have no idea. I'm sitting here looking at the fact that we're finally on the second floor for a defense in the first time in what has been 2 full maps of Consulate. And this is what we've got. A 2 versus 2 with Vinny downed and dead now. It was not even the 2-minute mark, Raven. There was not even a minute off the clock, and it didn't even feel like there was anything happening. What?
I just did not expect the chase after chase to happen in such a strange position so early, but hey, I guess sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. Maybe that's the Knights just saying, let's go. Like, we'll try and make something happen. Diesel can sit here and deny all day long with these gas canisters, and that's not going to give the Knights much time. But of course, they do only have 2 to find, being Knight, Diesel, and Imorin. So it looks like they are really wanting to gain this yellow control. Diesel here uses his last gas canister, still has ADSs that are uncleared. So it's going to be very tricky to push him out.
Imorin as well is going to be able to support him from that position. They'd already pre-opened those holes down at the bottom of yellow stairs, so he'll be able to see everything. And Knights feeling like that is definitely not the move for them there. They will rotate back around to the other side of the site. You can see the Ash and Haywood over toward admin, as well as Juicy now just on the balcony. And it looks like meeting is going to be that point that they try to put a little bit of pressure on here. Wildcard in a decent position to be able to stop this.
Absolutely. Time on their side too. 20 seconds. Haywood though. Great push down long desk. He does take out Diesel. Imorin. He's the last alive. He's clutched many a times before. He hears the plant. He sees it tight from Connector. He pushes out and denies. And then he peeks long desk and takes out Haywood. Wildcard. Strap on another on the back of Imorin clutching. Really well played from him. And just Knights cannot catch a break, Manic.
They really can't. It seems like everything that they're trying to do, Wildcard just have an answer for it. And unfortunately, you're in the best situation you've been in all game in a 2 versus 2.
He's been downed.
And you
Vinny been
manage to
down
find the
twice,
first kill,
confirm that.
and it just doesn't work after that. It kind of crumbles a little bit, and you're just seeing the mayhem there. Player down, player down. The trade comes from like, what on earth was that?
I think that's what they call a mess, Matic. That was just a total mess in such a strange place of the map for something like that to happen. I don't know. That was unreal. Anyway, Wildcard. They've got 3 in a row.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Knights, they need to pull something out on these attacks. They have just struggled so hard on attacking in general tonight. I mean, like Villa, their attacks were not great at all. And right now, I wouldn't say they've really improved that much in Consulate.
Well, unfortunately, with only 3 rounds that we've seen, you'd have to imagine not. I mean,
Attackers have located a bomb.
that was a bit of an affair, you'd say, to begin round number 2 there, or round number 3, sorry, I should say. This is round number 4, so we're bloody getting on in the matches, but you do feel as though Knights are just having all sorts of issues here, and I mean, rightfully so. You know, you are coming up against Wildcard, and their defensive side leaves a lot to the imagination, or actually doesn't leave a lot to the imagination, if you will. So it can be very difficult when you're talking about teams like this, and Knights will, well, they'll have to start impressing sooner rather than later, because so far not so good. 3-0 is not the way you want to start on Consulate.
Definitely not. I mean, we saw a 3-0 start earlier tonight, though. I believe it was Okami that went up 3-0 on Consulate before LFO really dug their heels in and came back.
Correct.
So maybe something that the Knights can draw some inspiration from. Oh my god, somebody just yeeted past Imarin. Josh, so lucky that Imarin was just aiming that touch higher. So he was masked for half of that run. That was unreal.
Oh, that is one of the best laughs I've had on Brook. Josh just yeeted into piano. Like, what is going on? Dino, he will be caught out there. As I try to compose myself.
Attackers drop the bomb defuse.
Oh no, this is not good for the Knights whatsoever. Juicy going down as well. That is their only hard breach. But it doesn't matter, because they've got all 3 avenues open. Josh will at least trade one back onto Vinny, so still got something left to fight in this round.
They do. They're trying to push the site here. Haven't really obtained
Drop the diffuser.
a whole lot as Geo domes Hayward. All up to Sage and Josh. They're just going to go for broke. Sage pushes down as Geo finds his triple. And there goes Sage or Josh. I can't remember which one was last live. Wildcard.
Josh.
They are just smashing forward right now. 4 in a row. Just doesn't look like stopping.
Nope. I'm a little bit speechless, a little bit flabbergasted, if you will, as to how strong Wildcard are looking. I mean, I saw a tweet from Diesel literally moments before the match saying, you know, GG to Okami and LFO is a good game, but we're about to put on a better showing. And, you know, like you kind of go, yeah, cool. That'll be a good match. And Wildcard turn up into the server like this, and they are just staunch, man. Like, their shoulders are wider than the door frames, and I don't even know what you do in Knight's situation right now, because this is just another beast. Wildcard bringing another level to their
Protect
game
your bombs from being defused by attackers.
in the upper bracket grand final, mind you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I too could add to the absolutely gobsmacked situation we're in. We both were talking up a very close matchup here. Maybe we'll see 3. This could be the time that Knights take it over Wildcard, but Wildcard have just been dismantling the Knights, and it's scary. And look, I want to reference a chat that I was having with Devmata last night. Actually, I don't know whether he wants me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We were just riffing about, you know, if we could see all the APAC teams play against each other. And he said that basically after what he'd seen from casting APAC North for the last couple of stages, he generally feels like Wildcard would really be like a top 4 contender amongst those APAC North teams. And honestly, I'd have to agree. I just feel like they have really stepped it up, especially in the last few play days. And in playoffs, they have been looking really good. Just a solid roster, and the way they're able to play and adapt to teams is really, it's a big strength of theirs.
Yeah. I think that's a really, really great point, is we talk about, you know, Wildcard and the effect that they've had in the play days. And the fact that, you know, like, for the most part, it wasn't the most convincing of gameplay to begin with. Things tightened up. The ship looked really good. And now that we've set the sail here, it really looks like Wildcard have they're just hitting another level. And this is the problem when you come into playoffs in best of 3 formats. If you are really on your game, like Wildcard are right now, it is incredibly hard to even challenge. But Knights are still, it's not for the lack of trying. Emo Rin goes down early in the round here, but Diesel just with a quick trade.
Yeah, makes it the 4v4, and he's forfeited a meeting with his life this time. And again, the Knights got this meeting control early last time they attacked this site, but they just did not progress further. They could not finish off Emo Rin. Pat has stepped up against Sage, and Wildcard regain the man advantage. The Knights just cannot seem to find a foothold of any kind in these attacks.
Feels like no matter how big the advantage they get to begin with, or even in mid-round, it just falls by the wayside. I mean, a 2 versus 4 here, Wildcard would have this site on complete lockdown. Like, just look at their setup right now. How on earth are you going to break this? How are you going to find a pick, let alone the match-winning, rather the round-winning play, and Wildcard silencing any critics that would think otherwise? This is what we needed to see. The statement from them has come in the upper bracket grand final. And it's gorgeous to see.
It's just an outstanding performance right now. Dino, he's last alive for his team. He's got to try and find 4 in these 20 seconds. Look at Wildcard. They're not moving a muscle. Vinny starts to move as Dino gets closer, but they are just not giving anything. Pat's the one that closes it out for Wildcard. 5 in a row for them now. They are looking at a potential perfect half.
Okay, so I've been writing down some notes. And this is what I've come up with. Don't take Wildcard to Consulate. That's all I've got.
Sounds accurate. Sounds accurate.
That's all I've got for my notes right now. We'll compare notes at the end, and we'll see what we've come to the conclusion of. But honest to God, I don't think we've seen 2 more dominant performances from realistically any team in the Oceanic Nationals than what we've seen from Wildcard on Consulate. And this map isn't even done yet. So potentially I might have to eat my words, but it just does not look like that's going to happen.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
No, and like, I mean, it was Wildcard's map pick, and that's the thing when it comes to the BO3s, right, is you only get 1 ban before your opponents get a pick. So you have to think about what to prioritize. Now, I honestly cannot remember what the Knights decided to ban, but Consulate has always been known that it is a strong map for Wildcard. I still remember the interview. I think we spoke to Digital or Vast and Elevate. Actually, I don't remember. But when Elevate did get demolished by Wildcard in the regular season, they said they really learned again to not take Wildcard to Consulate.
Again?
It's being proven, yeah, and it's just an ongoing thing. Wildcard, somehow they just show up on this map.
I think if memory serves correct here, and maybe production can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Knights banned out Clubhouse and Wildcard banned out Cafe. And I mean, if you're Knights, that's a good ban, because we know how good Wildcard are on Clubhouse. from what I'm looking at right now, yeah, they haven't lost a map on Clubhouse in the Oceanic Nationals. It was close against Ferox, but even then, they managed to bring it back from a 5-1 half that they were down in. It just... There are so many maps that you have to be worried about for wildcard. So one of these kind of maps is going to slip in, and this is what they need to do. They need to continue to make these kind of statements in the ANZ region.
Yeah, and we've highlighted wildcard's map pool, and that's the result of that. You know, if they've got such a strong map pool, sometimes it just doesn't matter what you ban first. You can kind of start to guess what you're going to go to, and then it's about just countering or trying to figure out how to counter that. That was a great take of Yellow just there. Diesel, he did take a pick with him on Josh, but they have Yellow control so early right now. They've still got basically 2 minutes to start to work this push to sides. This is a good start for the Knights in the attack on this round.
They're not wasting any more time and putting more pressure on them. This is what we need to see from Knights, regardless of whose mistake or advantage it was that really gave them this lead so far in this round, but this is exactly what Knights are after. A 4-3 advantage now in terms of the player, but not just that. Look at the space that Knights have created for themselves with that yellow stairs control. They should be able to double down on this. This should be a round confirmed.
It feels like it. Wildcard don't have vertical in towards CO. 3 players are all stacked up around long desk and meeting. It's just a matter of time before the Knights will start to push in and really try and get this plant confirmed. Looks like there is a player in already that's pushed up in CO. Geo finally decides to go below and maybe attempt to get some verticals or a retake, but Juicy is going to start to stick this plant. And it's going to be quite a tricky post-plant recovery for Wildcard. We saw them do some solid retakes on Villa, so we'll see whether they can do so on Consulate right now.
This, for my mind, would just put to bed any argument of Wildcard right now. Geo, he does alert them of the position. Pat, well, he's been put to bed for right now. Geo just gonna... I don't know. Unlucky Geo. I guess he's trying to get rid of any claymores that might be sitting on the other side.
Air jabs.
There you go, the air jab. So, smart idea. You just don't want to take down all of your HP in an instant. Juicy, will you come back in time or will we hit the rehost? Come on, Juicy. I'm barracking for you, mate. You can make it. You can do it.
See.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah, Juicy, legend. That's what I'm talking about. No rehosts
dear.
on this game, baby.
That was just so comical with Geo. Just mistimed, obviously, but
Yeah.
just that he's trying to do this run out and then puts himself to 5 HP. Anyway, the Knights, that all started off such a great clear of yellow. The fact that Diesel did get a pick though, not super great, but they established that control early. They ended up getting the pick. They got in there, and it enabled them to be able to just secure that round pretty much within that first minute. So solid props to them. They did not let Wildcard get the 6-0 half, so they're giving themselves that look in. You know, they can get 4 rounds in a row to equal it up, 5 rounds to get themselves to match point. And obviously, if they get a 6-0, well, they can even take the map. But it's gonna be tough.
That sounded so condescending.
Oh, it's not meant to. It wasn't meant to.
And if they go 6-0,
5 seconds left.
nah, look, they've definitely got
I'm
a
just
chance,
playing.
but I'm just skeptical it could happen because they've just really failed to turn up until this point.
we're gonna have a little bit of banter here because honestly, Wildcard are just doing Wildcard things right now, and you do love to see it from them. You also, I mean, like, on the flip side of things, it would be extremely frustrating for Knights heading into this, knowing that, you know, like, you've had some good games against Wildcard in the past and you have kept it close, and then they just come and do something like this. It's just absolutely outrageous. Are those all the ADSs and magnets burnt? Oh my word. Okay.
Not quite all the magnets, but
No,
yes,
one more.
they have burnt a lot of that utility on yellow stairs right now. And I mean, well, mine's still alive, so those magnets can get added. Josh is hanging out in that corner here and taking some damage. But this was the difference. I mean, we talked about it. We just saw the Knights successfully attack this. They got yellow, like, really quick. It makes such a big difference. And right now they're trying to do so. Emerin, oh my god, he just sits there and eats that up. Taken very low by the gas.
I think they were just able to get the Banshee from what it looked like. And, oh, that nade. See you later, alligator. Gotta catch him. Oh, Pokemon. Geo, that's 2 for the map. Rather 2 for the series so far, but Haywood with a really nice line will catch out Pat. Emo Rin does go down, regardless of how low he may have been. 2 players on the CEO repel with Vinny watching from yellow stairs. What does Wildcard's play here? They've done a decent job at actually keeping it close, considering Knights had held onto yellow stairs for so long.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
Still in a couple of key positions they haven't been able to deal with. I mean, Haywood is still running around. Josh there in that short position. He can either peek straight to yellow or to the CO windows. So that's never easy to deal with. Unless you're able to flush it. Vinny, oh no, he just looks straight past the head of Haywood. That's unfortunate. Knights putting themselves in a great position in their first defense round, leaving it into the hands of Diesel and Geo to try and clutch this out for Wildcard.
Both of these players have been enormous for Wildcard, not just in the series, obviously in the entirety of the season. That with that circle desk control, I would assume that Haywood still has his C4, potentially just the impact. So the second he tries to come in, it could spell disaster. Geo gets away from that though, and now in a 2v2, he'll be able to peek long desk. Geo with a nasty shot onto Josh, and all of a sudden a 1 versus 2. Haywood's trying to claw this round back. My God, Wildcard just doing Wildcard things. How have they clawed that back?
Unbelievable. I mean, Geo, he got 2 of the 3 all by himself. Unbelievable. I'm almost shocked, Matic, but I don't know why. Wildcard, they move to match point now. That means the Knights, they do need 5 consecutive rounds just to push this to OT. Wildcard, this whole series is absolutely unreal. They have just combined for I don't know how many clutches now, honestly. So many clutch situations that Knights could have closed out. But on top of that, just consistently capitalizing on gaps, mistakes, all kinds of stuff that the Knights are just overlooking.
Yep. And again, we reiterated that in the Akami LFO game, where it really does separate the good teams from the great teams. And I think that that's one thing that when you look at Wildcard, it really is a surefire way to explain why they are, like in a very generic sense, why they are the best team in ANZ right now. And it's just these moments where, any mistake that's given, they will take and they will punish you every single time. And in those moments where the chances are more likely 60-40 in the other team's favor, they can still make it work. It is just one of those things that I think we see from Wildcard time and time again, and it really does separate them from nearly every team, especially in the past 2 seasons. And I think it will continue to do so for as long as they remain as dominant as they are. But having said that, I'm sure Knights will be keen to bounce back after this because, I'm just assuming that Wildcard will be able to close out in the next 5 rounds. And really does tell a good tale for us here.
Does. No wall denial from the Knights. Diesel on the thermite, he is just going to open this wall up in the first 30 seconds here. So really solid control from Wildcard early. Does mean that there's not a whole lot of movement that the Knights can really do on site at least. But you can see there from the outlines, there's 2 players trying to play pretty aggressive vertically. So Diesel says, I've opened the wall, I'm coming, boys. He's going to rappel up to this window and try and find one. Haywood gets shut down by Emerin on the jump out. The air jab's proving helpful there.
Yeah.
Wildcard start the round strong.
See ya. It is going to snowball out of control from here. It started with the wall opening within 30-40 seconds, and it's been followed up by the deaths. Rest in peace, Haywood and Dino. Now, they are going to have to bunker on site. I don't think they can really get aggressive at this point, and Sage will try. Pat will deny. the double J's to hold on for Knights here.
A bomb has
Oh,
been
it's not going to be
located.
easy for him, that's for sure. He's just got a nice position here. He's been droned out. And Wildcard just have so much time to be able to deal with this. They can really orchestrate some kind of pinch under these positions. They don't have to rush anything right now. Still a minute and 10 to play. Josh and Juicy, they're playing patiently, and I mean, I guess that's all they can really do at this stage, is try to deny from distance, not let themselves get picked, and hopefully they can find a window or an opening to keep the Knights in this.
Vinny just looking for any kind of pumpkin to pop up over the top of those shields. And it's backed it off. Josh now. He'll be shut down just as quickly. A flawless round to end what has been a flawless series for Wildcard. 7-3 on Villa, 7-1 on Consulate. They make a statement. They prove that they are the best in the ANZ region. And they push through to the grand final of the Oceanic Nationals playoffs.
That was unreal. They were on top of the Knights at every step of the way. And that, I cannot believe how not close that was. We really set this up like it was going to be the real top of the table battle. And Wildcard, wow, they just absolutely dismantled, dumpstered Knights, if you will.
It is a really rough way of saying it, but I think that they battered and bruised Knights worse than what they battered and bruised Elevate. And I didn't think that was going to be possible. But once again, we get to this point of any series in a best of 3 with Wildcard in the ANZ region, and we say, right, what map are you going to choose to ban? Because you give with one, you take with the other. It doesn't make a difference what you ban out first. Wildcard are going to have one map that they will most likely humiliate you on. And it is hard to say that because we know how good these teams have been throughout the season. But when it comes to a best of 3 and you open up the map pool, Wildcard will just take you down to the pastures. They are absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, they really flexed their strength in this series. Honestly, it was astounding to watch. Just every step of the way, it didn't matter what the Knights did, the amount of situations that looked like were going well. I think all the way back to Villa round 1, I think it was, where the Knights, they had such a solid attack on the kitchen dining. It was like a 4v2 situation. And then Diesel and Pat, I believe it was, they got this retake clutch. And it was just beautiful. Honestly, it was. And that set the tone for the whole series. Almost every round was just in similar vein, where the Knights tried to do something. They threw stuff at Wildcard. And Wildcard had answers to everything.
And it just felt like the Wildcard show. That's all I can really sum it up as. So we've got Silix to have a chat with. I'm sure this will be quick and sweet because that was utter dominance. Silix, I have to congratulate you. I have to take my hat off because that right there is a statement that we've been looking for from Wildcard, and you've pulled it out in the upper bracket grand final.
Yep, so that's a solid win for us. Nice quick game, always good. It's really nice to take a convincing win in the upper bracket final, push us through to the grand finals. Hopefully we continue this for tomorrow's match.
There's not a whole lot to ask you about, to be honest with you, but I will say, like, you guys seem like you really worked on Villa after how close you had with Okami. Was there something that was like a big difference between the two maps in terms of your performance?
Not really. So we just kind of worked on our own game. We knew how we want to play. Yesterday's match against Akami, we tried to do a bit of counter-stratting against them since we had their recent match to look at. Like some of the rounds worked out for us, some of them didn't. But today, like, we have hardly anything to go by for Knights for Villa. We focused a lot more on ourselves and worked out for us.
Quick adapting. You guys are really showing why you are the best team in the ANZ region right now. I don't think there's really a lot that I want to go into because obviously you got that grand final tomorrow. So I think I'll just end the interview on this question. Who do you think you're going to be seeing, Akami or Knights? It's
a tough question. Both of them are really strong. I After like yesterday's performance and today, I think Akami might pull through. They've been playing pretty well throughout the season. But I think it's going to go through to all 3 maps, maybe even like overtime in the third round, or third map, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be tough.
Yeah, it certainly will be. Well, a short match is a sweet match, and a short interview is a sweet interview as well. So, Alex, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you after the grand final tomorrow. Good luck.
Thank you, boys. See ya.
And there is an inkling, especially after this performance, that we will be seeing First Seed go to Wildcard, because statements being statements, Raven, that was outrageous.
It was. And I mean, we talked about the veto in BO3s being tough, right? Where you only get the 1 ban before they get a pick. Well, it's going to be even tougher at BO5. You don't really get much of a say in what you play. It's just the 1 ban and that's it. So I think it's going to be, they're really going to be tough to beat in a BO5 in particular, because at this stage, they're presenting difficult enough to get 1, even 2 maps against. But to beat them in the grand final, you need to get 3. Like, I don't see either Knights or Akami doing it. And I don't want to write them off, but it's going to be a really, really tough feat.
And yeah, the problem is they get that default map. There's so many things that are already bowing in their favor for tomorrow night's grand final that it really is. This is what we were looking for. I think for quite some time. Obviously, they still have only lost 1 map in the entirety of all of their best of 3, best of 5 series in the last 2 seasons, which that terrifies me in itself. But we can move our vision from Wildcard across to Knights. We've got Dino ready on the line, so let's have a chat with him. Let's hear what happens, because that, Dino, it's good to see you, mate. That was a, I think that facial expression sums up. That was an incredibly tough match. What do you even do in those circumstances? It really looked like Wildcard were just swarming everything.
We tried so many things. We tried playing aggressive, structured, crouch walking. We tried, it was crazy. We tried everything, just nothing was working. Our comms then started to drop because we just couldn't get rounds on the board. We had like an emotional talk. It's all right. It's never like, it ends when it ends. Let's just try to see what happens. We tried to like get a couple rounds on defense, but by that time it was just too late. The lead was just too big of a gap, and we just couldn't catch up.
Yeah, look, it was definitely tough for you guys. It's honestly hard to ask you other than what was going wrong, and you've already kind of explained that. Look, we'll look forward to your opponents. You've got Okami, obviously, in that final tomorrow to try and get a spot into the grand final. How are you guys feeling looking past tonight towards Okami for that matchup?
Okami and Wildcard are 2 totally different teams. We find Wildcard just is so much harder to beat than Okami. I feel like Okami's game we should hopefully win. If we just see why we lost today's games, try to tighten up for tomorrow's games. Even though it's one day, we can still do a lot of tweaks. And hopefully tomorrow we just come over and win and then we can go to the finals.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll keep it short and sweet. Congratulations, by the way, on your previous win that got you the major spot in the first place. But we will see you tomorrow for that first matchup and hopefully see you for the grand final.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
So it's set, Raven. Our lower bracket grand final and our grand final is all but upon us. We have 1 match to get through before we determine where we're going to be heading. You can see right there, it has been a triumphant couple of series, and that is by near and far the most dominant performance we've seen in this entire playoffs bracket.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you're not going to see that from the upper bracket scores. You see a lot of 2-0s, and you might think, well, that's pretty much the same. But no, like that was just the most one-sided. Was up there with 2 of the most one-sided maps I think we've seen all season, almost. To be honest with you, that's just it was a very unfortunate result for Knights, at least. But hey, like they've got tonight to bounce back for tomorrow. It's not like all is lost for the Knights. They've got Okami, and as you saw, Okami they were struggling against a strong LFO team. So I think that's going to be a really great matchup to see tomorrow.
I'm really, really keen to see where that Pittsburgh Knights and Okami game head, because we also saw Okami have a couple of close maps with Wildcard, which means that just as much as that lower bracket final is going to be saucy, that second matchup, the grand final, regardless of the advantage that Wildcard will have heading into it, just still anyone's game. A best of 5, there are a lot of maps to get through.
There are, and look, like we've highlighted many times, it's always going to be tough against Wildcard. Their map pool is really strong, but you know what? All it takes, you just got to be on. And Wildcard Okami, the good thing that they can play into is that they'll be warm. And there's always arguments both sides of this, right? Does it help that you've already played a match when you come into a big series like that, or does it help to be rested? Sometimes it just depends on the team, but either way, they can use that as a bit of a warm-up for the grand final, whoever gets through. Maybe that plays them into the form that's just right to be able to try and take the crown away from Wildcard.
Well, that's what it is. You're going to have to step up against the titan of the ANZ region. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, that is it from us tonight. We've had an absolute pleasure bringing you all of the games. We'll be back tomorrow, so don't go anywhere because it's sure to be spicy. We'll see you soon.
I just want a little bit of company. You acting like you really wanna fall for me. But baby, can you tell me who you wanna be? Wanna be? Talk to me. I just want a little bit of company. You acting like you really wanna fall for me. But baby, can you tell me who you wanna be? Wanna be? I left my demons in my best. I still want something that can last. You make me feel like I'm okay. We both know that you feel the same. Ooh, baby, I got nothing else to prove. You're talking about your best out of me. Remember that you always get to choose. Talk to me. I just want a little bit of company. You acting like you really wanna fall for me. Baby, can you tell me who you wanna be? Wanna be? Talk to me. I just want a little bit of company. You acting like you really wanna fall for me. But baby, can you tell me who you wanna be? Wanna be? I don't wanna be friends, yeah, I guess you got my intention. Got no place I'd rather be, feel like another dimension. I don't wanna talk, baby, you should let it go. I don't wanna go, let me say a little more. Talk to me, I just want a little bit of company. You acting like you really wanna fall for me. But baby, can you tell me who you wanna be? Wanna be? Talk to me, I just want a little bit of company. You acting like you really wanna fall for me. But baby, can you tell me who you wanna be? Wanna be? Without her, it's not fair, I need you back. No more crying at the end.